Mel,
Yeah,
why do you look like Snow White?
dude, I'm
What?
wearing a hoodie because it's cold. Have you ever seen Snow White? Have you
Uh,
actually seen what Snow White looks like? She's got dark hair and wears like a
really?
blue dress, and there's got
What?
little dwarves running around her. I'm wearing a hoodie.
Why is she called Snow White? I'm sorry. Wait. Let me just Google this.
Yeah, I don't need to Google it. Trust me, she doesn't look like me.
She looks like that.
Yeah,
I
I
went to a
told you.
school where they didn't teach us nursery rhymes or these kind of childhood fantasy. Uh,
I don't want to know about your fantasy.
no, actually, come to think of it, yeah, you just look like a nun who's decided to, you know, let her hair down.
Okay, this is going places I really don't want to know because there are probably fantasy movies about that too, but I wouldn't know where to find them. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Roll the bumper. Hello and welcome to the good, the bad, the ridiculous from day 2. Yes, I have washed my hair, even though I was wearing a hoodie. Well, what a second day was. This is shaping up to be a real cracker of a test match, actually, thinking that New Zealand were going to get maybe well away with things in that first innings, and then thinking, oh dear, here goes England after the first couple of wickets fell, but all of a sudden, it's going back a bit and forward. That's what I love to see. Thanks all for joining us. You can see some of you guys coming in there already. Thank you to Ashish Taneja, who says it's a great show, especially for us in India. We don't get to see regular platforms talking about test matches when India is not playing. Please never stop. We will never stop. We'll be
Never.
right here for you, Ashish.
Even after Test cricket stops, we won't stop the show.
We won't stop the show. So let's get stuck into some nominations, shall we? First up from Debajit Ghosh, ridiculous. Neil Wagner batting at number 11 like number 7. And then we also have one from Akshit Asa. I think it's Akshit Asrani is the full name.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I'm looking at the actual handle as well as the name, if you know what I mean. Ridiculous. 2 shots of the game so far came by the number 11 when someone else played a masterclass. Well, who was it playing the masterclass? Because Mr. Neil Lara Wagner, as I always go to say that because it just comes out. That was so much fun. He is such a fun cricketer in everything that he does, isn't he? For me, anyway. I think he's so much fun. And that was brilliant. They were just such great shots. Everything about it. I love it. He comes out and they put someone out there on the hook thinking, here we go, tail ender. He might have a swish at one. And he's driving and he's flicking them off the pads. And it was like, what? It was great. It was good that Devon Conway kept him on the strike as much, or gave him as much of the strike as he did.
I think the only other cricketer who I've ever seen or played or interacted with who enjoys himself more while playing cricket is Imran Tahir. Because Neil Wagner is right up there. Like, you see him in the nets, you see him play cricket, you just see him around the cricket field, and you just know he loves it. And that summer when they came and played here, and then India went to New Zealand, I saw a lot of him from up close, and it's not just his bowling that he loves. Of course, the big secret that I revealed was he doesn't bowl bouncers at all in the nets. He keeps all of them for the match. But similarly, the other thing I found out is he really backs himself with his batting. Like, well, while he's batting in the nets, Mel, if he gets out, he gets really, really angry with himself. And that's the only time I've seen him look serious and be really serious. Like, if he plays a shot and he asks at times he'd ask the bowler for validation, like, did I play that well? And if the bowler doesn't respond or he doesn't, ignores him, he gets pretty angry. And he's just a lovable, very affable guy, but that's the only times I've seen him get angry. And he's not by any stretch of the imagination a number 11. I think he in an ideal, this England lineup, he'll be batting 8, if not 7. I have never seen James Bracey bat, but like Neil Wagner is actually quite decent. We've spoken in the past about Josh Hazelwood and how he's got great technique. And Neil Wagner is a pretty solidly built batsman, in the sense he's very confident with his defense. But yeah, some of those shots, I know the 6 of Stuart Broad down the ground stood out, but the way he drove on the up on a pitch where, except Devon Conway, nobody else had looked that comfortable, even Henry Nicholls, when it came to run scoring. So, Neil Wagner, you just love him. He's one of those cricketers, you just want to watch him play all the time.
Yeah, interesting, because that New Zealand lineup does bat pretty deep. Just as far as handy runs go, when you're in a test cricket innings. And you mentioned Henry Nicholls. Well, after he was out, they just lost a bunch of wickets so quickly, and it looked like it was all gone. So that was very much needed. It was sort of the swing of it, because they got themselves into such a good position while Nicholls and Conway were both out there. But it looked like it was all going to just go and collapse after then. So incredibly handy innings that may end up being quite important in this match. Who knows? We shall see. So that's good nominations there. I like those. Now, we also have one from Akash Bang, I believe, coming up saying, bad, Broad's staggering lack of wickets. Hasn't picked up one in his last 5 innings. Time to debate his place in the 11 again. Feels like there should be an annual debate Stuart Broad's place in the side day. They have national days for, blue fingernails or dog hair or whatever it is. They have a lot of different international days. I feel like there should be one there. He didn't bowl that much in a couple of those innings. I think in one of them in India, he might have only bowled 6 overs. And so perhaps it's, that may be a little bit misleading possibly. But also, he hasn't been taking as many wickets. I don't know if he bowled badly. Probably the worst thing he did was dropped a really simple catch. That was possibly the worst thing he did all day that would have given Ollie Robinson his fiver. He's one of those bowlers that this does happen all the time. It will come up. And what you usually find with Stuart Broad is, as soon as his place is questioned and challenged, he'll come back with an absolutely stunning innings somewhere where he will just take a swag of wickets. Maybe it helps. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. He's a very intelligent bowler. He thinks about things a huge amount. Really works things out and thinks really deeply about the game. I think, a lot of us sort of hope to see him and Jimmy bowling in that one match. Maybe the days of seeing them bowl together are coming to an end as rotation becomes more and more of a thing. What did you make of him, Bharat?
Before I get to Stuart Broad, Mel, I really like this idea of having a day. I loved it when Stuart Broad did what's that show called? The Big Brother style interview last year, where he was really upset about being dropped. You remember when they didn't pick him for a test match against the West Indies? Just for that was good TV. And, he played and then took a lot of wickets right after that. So just for that reason, and in the Adelaide Advertiser, the local paper that I get every day, there's one page which tells you, that's my favorite page. It tells you what day it is. And there are ridiculous days like Talk Like William Shatner Day. So I'm sure, why should Stuart Broad be drop day, I think would be right up there.
Yeah, what date is it today? It's Friday the 4th of June. I hereby pronounce Friday the 4th of June as International Let's Question Stuart Broad's Place in the England Side Day. Hashtag, make it a hashtag.
Let's just make it.
Very catchy. I can see one there from Kundan and Devas, India, saying yesterday Mark Wood clicked most of the deliveries in over 94 miles per hour. I guess, basically they're saying he was quick. He wasn't as quick on day 2 as he was on day 1. The pitch seemed to have more bounce in it a bit, although there was some variable bounce and one going through. It looked like it was almost rolled to the keeper. But yeah, Wood is, I think, precious Wood. He's just got to be used a certain way, doesn't he? you don't want to bowl him for long spells. He's able to just make something happen when maybe the ball's not swinging too much or doing too much. Just there are a few balls that were beating them just sheer pace, and that bouncer that got Nichols out as well was just really awkward. And anyone who can bowl that fast, I'm hoping that he makes it out here to Australia and is part of that Ashes series, because I'd be really excited to see what a team with him and Jofra Archer, if he's fit, might be able to do.
Yeah, and Mark Wood plays a very similar role to the one that Neil Wagner plays for New Zealand. The only difference being Neil Wagner isn't as quick, and he bowls longer spells. But they just make things happen out of nothing. And you're right. Yesterday, the ball wasn't going through, but there was that tennis ball bounce off it. And just on Stuart Broad, I think he actually bowled pretty well. I thought he loves bowling to left-handers, and he kept coming around the wicket. David Warner tweeted about it on the first evening. This guy keeps popping up, bowling down the wicket. But I thought he bowled really well. But the Kiwi left-handers dealt with him really well. They always played inside the line. They didn't commit to anything. You could see that I'm not sure whether they did it consciously, but they didn't mind taking a more middle and leg, or even a kind of a leg a guard. And because generally you see when someone, especially someone who can angle it in, right armer comes around the wicket, a lot of left-handers like to cover their stumps, which is what David Warner did a lot and kept feeling for the ball. I thought they played him really well. But yeah, you're right also about Stuart Broad. He just has that one spell like he did last year, where you thought, is this it for Stuart Broad? Then he'd take 8 wickets in 3 overs.
Yeah. So, almost every time. It's amazing, isn't it? Like I can't think of another bowler who has done it as many times as he has. When you think, oh yeah, he looks like being dropped, or he's being dropped, or whatever it is, and then just comes back like that. It's amazing. Now, look, I'm pretty upset about this next nomination from Nikhil. Bad Colin de Grandom's hairdo. Hello, I'm actually bad. Is this nomination? Let's straight. And I think most of you will kind of admit, Bharat and I, we got it. We know what we're doing in the hair stakes. Obviously, mine's not as magnificent as Bharat, so I think we're an authority when it comes to cricket hair. And his is magnificent. I'm putting it out there, and I think it may actually be as good, if not better, than Ravindra Jadeja's hair.
Oh, that's a tough call. I still think Jadeja's hair, just the crown that he has on his head, kind of pips the post. But they have a competition for mullets in Australia. I know that for sure, because 3 or 4 months earlier, I saw in the paper someone actually won it. But that is only because Colin de Grandhomme didn't get himself into that competition, because he's got the best mullet I've seen in cricket. I know that we've seen Jason Gillespie and many others try the mullet. There were some extraordinary mullets, extraordinary good mullets back in the 70s. I thought Len Pascoe used to have a great mullet. But Colin de Grandhomme, the Kiwis love their throwbacks, right? The beige that they wear for T20s, the beige brigade and all that. But Colin de Grandhomme does not need any of that. Just that hair is enough. Again, he's another cricketer you just love to watch, right? Unlike Neil Wagner or a Mark Wood, or Imran Tahir, where you see the passion, Colin de Grandhomme is just so cool. Like, he doesn't say much. Simon Dole, who's actually very good friends with Colin de Grandhomme, and he plays a lot of golf with him. I remember once he told me that you can play like a whole golf course and not hear more than 3 words from him. He's just the most chilled cricketer I've seen in a long time. And that mullet, number 1.
And has at times possibly been a little bit underrated as well, just in the whole all-rounder stakes, I think, too. Okay, so next up we have Raghav Pandya. Look, I appreciate the work that's gone into this nomination, the stats work. The good Devon Conway, 200, has the highest score for a batter on men's cricket test debut, and I like the fact that you put men's cricket test debut as well, in England, going past KS Ranjit 154 not out. The same man after whom Ranji Trophy was named. Like, I appreciate the work that has gone into that. The good was basically, the only thing, damn it, I wish he'd carried his bat. Oh, I was gutted that he got run out by that much as well. And it led to a really sort of interesting discussion with my mother when I was explaining to her today that Devon Conway had got his 200. She was very impressed. And I said, he got out last wicket out, so he didn't carry his bat. And she looked at me and she said, what do you mean by carry a bat? And I explained what the term carry a bat means. And she looked at me strangely again and said, but they all carry their bats.
Good point. That's true. They do, actually. Yeah.
So we had to have long explanations, but yeah, he carried on as well. What an incredible! We obviously spoke a bit about him yesterday, but to get the double century, I know sometimes we get too fixated on milestones, but that's an incredibly special one for him. And I did love the way he kind of took a little bit of a backseat to Neil Wagner as well. He was just so calm. I think one of the really impressive things about him, watching him over the 2 days, was the way he varied the innings, so that he showed he was able to attack at the right time to attack, but he was also able to pull back, and he sort of wasn't phased as he got to any of those. I mean, to top edge 6 to get you to sort of get you there, that was pretty funny. But yeah, just the way he paced his innings, I thought was one of the most impressive things to me, because it showed such a calm maturity, I think.
Yeah, and I can see Rajiv's comment about how he looked like a veteran out there. I think everybody said that. And Simon Dool on commentary said something like, yeah, I mean, in his 34th test, it's good to see someone make a double 100 in his 34th test, because it looks like he's played this format, this level of cricket all his life. And yeah, it was a special innings. And he naturally is a very attacking batsman. You see him in white ball cricket, he has all the shots. He really backs himself as well. But like you said, the pitch, the ball did seem quite a bit, but I thought he handled it pretty well. Yesterday, we spoke about how Mark Wood tested him. And even when wickets kept falling yesterday, during that phase where they lost 3 or 4 wickets for not more than 2 or 3 runs, he kept on continuing to play his game. It didn't seem to deter him. And this is someone playing his first ever test innings. It was just one of those innings that, I mean, we've seen other famous debut centuries and debut double tons. I really can't find another one that I watched, Mel, where the batsman just was so unfussed by everything. Like, the circumstance, the situation, the bowling, wickets falling at the other end. And there's another stat that popped up. Our viewers love numbers, and I think they're much better at numbers than I definitely am. I got one earlier. Apparently, it is also, yes, there it is. I think it's Lee Schneider. She said this was the highest or most runs on Test debut at Lord's in the first innings. And Devon Conway beat Andrew Strauss's 195. Yeah.
So look at people putting all this effort in. Well done. I really like it. Yeah,
maybe we should put some effort in as well, man.
I know. They put more effort in than we do. Shh, don't tell anyone. I've just seen a little comment there from Sunak Mana saying, ma'am. I always feel old when people say ma'am, but I think a lot of people do say that, don't they? Ma'am, I'm a kid from India. Ma'am, is Devon Conway the threat for India? Hello, Sunak. Thanks for joining us. I think he is certainly going to be play a key part, or certainly could anyway. He is one they will certainly be making a lot of plans for now, having seen the way he's batted, because I mean they've still got the likes of Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor to deal with as well. But it must be so great for New Zealand to just have the new boy come in and play the way he has in those conditions, and to have just had these two matches coming in. So he's definitely the one to watch. I think there's so much effort, or there's so much to watch about him over this test and the next test. And I can pretty much guarantee India will be watching very carefully too.
I mean, they have seen a lot of him in the last 2 days that they can use for their study, really, of Devon Conway. And in this New Zealand Test team, the only missing link was a stable opening partner for Tom Latham. Yes, they've tried a few guys. Tom Blundell has done well. He scored that century at the MCG, but he's not got consistent big scores. And I don't know. You look at Tom Blundell. He doesn't come across as a threat if I was the opposition. And you look at that middle order, everything else is sorted. Of course, we've spoken enough about their bowling lineup. So that was that one slot they needed. And now you have someone who on debut has looked like he's done this all his life. He's made a double hundred at Lords, so better. So, yes, and clearly Sonak doesn't think he needs to call me sir, which I really appreciate. Nor has he really approached me with a question, but I've just taken over this question. Sorry, Sonak. And I call her ma'am as well. She actually likes it. She just lies on camera about this. She makes sure I call her ma'am.
I'd rather be a nun who's let her hair down than a man.
I think that's you don't look like it anymore.
Okay. I'm just sorry, I'm going back to my nun. So we're going to finish up now. There's this nomination here from Noah Brzezinski, and Noah DM'd me this really wonderful story about how he went to Lord's yesterday and all about his day, and he tried to pick up a woman who worked in a bar, and everyone kept talking to him about bringing his picnic basket, and he didn't have one, and then he realized that you were supposed to bring in your own alcohol in your picnic basket. But it was a lovely story, and I really appreciated the effort again that he went to. And so his nominations: good, Neil Wagner. Everyone on earth should find something that makes them as happy as playing cricket. Playing cricket makes Neil Wagner. Bad, England's opening. I get so nervous worrying every match will be another Sturega slide. Ridiculous. Got to make that catch moving to your right, Stuart Broad. So, I thought I would mention those three. We have talked about two of them. One, we haven't. England's opening batting again. It's a worry, isn't it? It happens a lot, and they've been through so many. They've sort of stuck with Crawley and Sibley now, that sort of looked like they were the two to sort of be given the longest run at it, but. Yet again, you end up with Root out there, certainly far too early. Rory Burns playing a typical Rory Burns, scratching around, looking all sorts of ugly things, but somehow managing to stay there, and are pretty lucky that they've got him there.
I think it's a big worry for England, not just the fact that they're not finding a stable opening partnership. We just spoke about New Zealand have had that issue for a while, but just the way their young batsmen are getting out. They're getting out in very similar fashions, like Dom Sibley, head falls over. You saw him get bowled when he left the ball last year in the first test of the English summer. He just doesn't seem to know where his off stump is. We saw him struggle against the spinners. He got some runs here and there against India. And Zach Crawley, who Ashwin said on his show, apparently he's never seen a batsman, or not never seen, but the ball just go off Zach Crawley's bat. I think they were teammates in county cricket a couple of years ago, and he was raving about him on a show recently. But just hanging your bat out there, I don't know, it just doesn't augur well, because you think that these are opportunities for these guys to really slam the door down, make sure that they cement their place, because the likes of Josh Butler and those guys are going to come back, you would think, Ben Stokes and the likes. So wasted opportunities in my opinion, and it's a worry for England, but it's also, I guess, something they have to expect, considering they are going to stick with this whole rotation system. I was talking to someone earlier, and yes, I mean, the New Zealand players were also part of the IPL, and now here they are, they're playing a test match away from home. So you can always argue about these things, but anyway, I mean, Ben Stokes is injured, but he might come back. And I think I got the stat wrong. Apparently,
yes,
Schneider says that. I'm sorry.
Has said Conway beat the record for most runs in a match by a debutant at Lords. Strauss made 112 and 83 in his debut against New Zealand, funnily enough. Leah, if we probably do need a researcher for this show. We might have to get in contact with you.
I know.
Yeah.
Right,
But on that note, drum roll, Barrett and Racing, what was the goodest thing of day 2?
I think it was that moment when Devon Conway reached his double hundred, and across the pitch, the other end of the pitch was Neil Wagner, and just that hug. I mean, think about it, right? Look at their stories. Both of them left South Africa for New Zealand when they were in their 20s with one suitcase and nothing but just a lot of hope that they might get a second chance. And look, I mean, at that point, I'm sure they weren't thinking of making their test debut at Lord's. They were thinking of, wow, we're taking a massive risk. How is our life going to play out? And for them to have shared that moment, I think was really special. You could see even when they were batting with each other, I could hear the South African accent. Like I couldn't pick up too much of what they were saying, but no, I think it was special. A lot of people talk about, South Africa is missing out on talent. We spoke about it yesterday as well. It really doesn't matter when you see moments like that. So that for me was the best part of the day.
Okay, what was your baddest thing of the day, and why is it the fact that they were 8 overs short?
Well, it's terrible. Like, bring back the demerit points. Seriously, like 8 overs. That's I mean, and you know what the problem is? There are kids who watch this sport. Like, when I umpire here locally, I see that junior cricketers, they just take these things for granted. And now I saw David Lloyd complain about how the number of times drinks come onto the field, and there was a time then you had to ask the umpire and the opposition captain. I make it a point when I'm umpiring, even if it's under 16, and if somebody just runs on, if the batsman, even if he's been batting for half an hour and it's a warm day in Adelaide, you still have to ask. And those little things add up, and 8 overs is shocking where there was no rain. There was, it didn't look like it was that hot a day either. It's just shocking. It's getting worse. And if you see, since the time they took away the demerit points, since the time they took away the onus from the captains and made it like a team thing, yes, Australia missed out on a World Test Championship final slot. But I think till the time you punish individuals and the captain in particular, I think this will just keep getting worse.
Yeah, I'm with you. Some people say no, the punters don't really care, but if I paid money to go and see a movie and then I didn't get to see the last 30 minutes because they stopped playing it, I'd be pretty annoyed. So I'm with you, and I think Rajiv has got to keep up the pace of play.
Yeah, and I think Rajiv's suggestion is not a bad one. We need a timer in between overs. I mean, they brought it into tennis. Like, when you watch tennis, there's a timer within which, that time within which you have to serve. And there's a timer for a lot of other things. There's a timer in the AFL when you have to take a mark.
Exactly. Yeah. Sort it out. And what is your ridiculousest thing of the day?
Okay, so this wasn't part of our nomination, but for me, it was ridiculously good to see that really cute kid, in the stands with his own scorebook and, him scoring the match. It was so wonderful. I mean, it's part of English culture. I remember going to Worcester during the Ashes for that side game. You were there as well. And for 2 hours, all I did was just walk around the ground, sat with different people, and watched them just score these games. Of course, these were like the average age was around 73 of the people I sat with in the crowd that day. But I thought it was a lost art. I thought it'll just die out with that generation. But to see a tiny kid, he looked like he was 8 or 9 years old, and with a wonderful smile. Just to see him sit there with the scorebook, it didn't happen on the field, but for me, it was the most ridiculously good thing of the day.
I approve of that. I highly approve of that. And that is a beautiful way for us to finish today's show. Thank you all for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. And for your nominations, make sure you tweet them to us during the match as well if something catches your eye. We'll be back a little bit earlier tomorrow if I can drag Barrett in earlier. And until then, enjoy the test. See ya. Bye.